Welcome to this training brought to you by the North San Diego County Realtors, where we turn real-world case interpretations published by the National Association of Realtors into practical lessons that strengthen your understanding of the Code of Ethics in action. Today's focus: listing property at excessive price from Case Interpretation 1-17 under Article 1 of the Realtor Code of Ethics. Let's begin with the core of Article 1. It reads, when representing a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other client as an agent, realtors pledge themselves to protect and promote the interest of their client. This obligation to the client is primary, but it does not relieve realtors of their obligation to treat all parties honestly. When serving a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other party in a non-agency capacity, realtors remain obligated to treat all parties honestly. This principle is clear. Protecting your client's interest must always come first. But what happens when a listing is secured based on unrealistic pricing promises? Let's look at the scenario.
Mr. A was about to retire and move to a warmer climate, and had discussed the sale of his house with a number of brokers. He dropped in on Realtor B to discuss the matter and said that various brokers had told him he should expect to sell the property at from $150,000 to $158,000. Oh, that sounds low to me, said Realtor B. Property moves well in that neighborhood, and I recall that your house is in good shape and well landscaped. Give us an exclusive on it at $168,000 and we'll make a strong effort to get you what your property is really worth. Realtor B got the listing. He advertised the property, held it open on weekends, had many inquiries about it, and showed numerous prospective buyers through it for a few weeks, but received no offers. When activity slowed and the client became concerned, Realtor B was reassuring. We'll just keep plugging till the right buyer comes along, he said. When the 90-day exclusive expired, Realtor B asked for a renewal. He told the client that new houses coming on the market were adversely affecting the market on resales of existing houses and recommended lowering the price to $158,900. Client A ruefully agreed, but the lowered price did not materially increase buyer interest in the property. As the term of the 90-day extension of the listing neared, Realtor B brought Client A an offer of $150,000 and strongly recommended that it be accepted. But the client objected. You told me it was worth about $168,000, and sooner or later the right buyer would pay that price. Meanwhile, similar homes in the neighborhood have been selling within 30 to 60 days at around $156,000. I know, Realtor B said, but 6 months ago we had a stronger market, and we're at the most favorable time of the year, and $168,000 was not an out-of-line price at the time. But now we're in the slow time of the year, and the market is off. All things considered, I think the $150,000 offer in hand is a good one. I doubt that a better one will come along. Client A accepted the offer and complained against Realtor B to the local board of realtors, charging Realtor B with misinforming him as to fair market value, apparently as a means of obtaining the listing of his property. At the hearing, the facts as set out above were not disputed. Questioning developed the additional fact that at the time of the original listing, Realtor B had not gone through the house to make a systematic appraisal of opinion of value, and that his recommended offering price was not based on a systematic review of sales in the neighborhood. Members of the hearing panel pointed out that the neighborhood in question was a development of houses, basically the same in size and quality, that had been put on the market about 10 years earlier at prices varying from $145,000 to $150,000. That good location and land development practices had maintained a good market for resales, but there was no indication that any property in the immediate neighborhood had been resold for as high as $160,000. When told that circumstances tended to bear out the complainant's charge that Realtor B's recommended price was a stratagem to obtain the listing, Realtor B's defense was that he felt he had a right to take an optimistic view of the market. It was concluded that Realtor B was in violation of Article 1 of the Code of Ethics.
Mr. A was preparing to retire and sell his home. After speaking with several brokers, he consistently heard the same thing. Based on current market conditions, his home would likely sell between $150,000 and $158,000. Then came Realtor B with a much higher suggestion. Without conducting a thorough walkthrough or pulling any comps, he told Mr. A, I think we can ask $168,000. Encouraged by this optimistic projection and hoping to maximize his retirement funds, Mr. A gave Realtor B the exclusive listing. But beneath that big number, there was a problem. The price wasn't backed by any real market analysis. It was based on hope, not data. After listing at $168,000, Realtor B marketed the home through open houses and promotional outreach. There was activity, some showings, and a few curious inquiries, but no written offers. Despite the lack of movement, Realtor B remained upbeat, continuing to reassure Mr. A that it was just a matter of time before the right buyer came along. When the initial 90-day listing expired, Mr. A agreed to renew, this time at $158,900, closer to what other brokers had originally suggested. But even with the reduced price, the interest remained lukewarm. The property continued to sit without any serious offers, leaving Mr. A uncertain and disappointed. 6 months after listing the property, Realtor B finally presented an offer, $150,000. It was in the exact range that other brokers had originally advised at the very beginning. What made things worse was Realtor B's sudden change in tone. After months of optimistic pricing and reassurances, he now urged Mr. A to accept the lower offer quickly. Mr. A was stunned. He felt misled, drawn in by unrealistic expectations and now pressured to settle for less. Frustrated and disappointed, he agreed to the sale but felt that trust had been broken. Convinced that the original pricing had been inflated just to secure the listing, he filed an ethics complaint against Realtor B. At the hearing, the panel reviewed the facts surrounding Realtor B's pricing recommendation, and they were concerning. The home was located in a neighborhood of similar properties built about a decade earlier, with recent sales consistently ranging between $145,000 and $150,000. At the time of the listing, there was no credible evidence that any comparable homes had sold for $160,000 or more, let alone $168,000. Despite that, Realtor B advised the seller to list at $168,000. When questioned, he acknowledged that this figure wasn't based on a formal market analysis, comparable sales, or even a detailed property walkthrough. Instead, he described it as simply an optimistic view of the market. This lack of due diligence raised serious questions about whether Realtor B had truly acted in the best interest of the client and whether he fulfilled his ethical duty under the code. The hearing panel found Realtor B in violation of Article 1 of the Code of Ethics. At the heart of their decision was a simple but serious concern. Trust was broken. By recommending an inflated price without any supporting market data, Realtor B misled the seller, either intentionally or through negligence. His advice created false expectations, which ultimately worked against the client when the market shifted and demand slowed. The home sat unsold while more realistically priced homes moved quickly. The panel viewed this pricing tactic as self-serving. Instead of advising the client based on professional analysis, Realtor B appeared to offer a flattering number to secure the listing. But Article 1 demands more. It requires that realtors act honestly and in the best interest of those they serve. Pricing is never about wishful thinking. It's about facts, trends, and market evidence. When realtors choose optimism over accuracy, clients pay the price. Here are your key takeaways. Always conduct a thorough market analysis before recommending a list price. Your advice should be grounded in facts like comparable sales, current market conditions, and property features, not assumptions or optimism. A data-backed price helps your client make informed decisions and sets you up as a knowledgeable professional. Set realistic expectations with your client from the start. Overpromising just to secure a listing might win you the signature, but it risks losing the client's trust, especially if the home sits on the market and later requires price reductions. Avoid the temptation to buy the listing. Inflating the price to win the listing is not only unethical, it wastes your client's time and can damage your reputation. In this case, the client lost months on the market and ultimately had to settle for the same price others originally recommended. Integrity is your long-term differentiator. Clients remember honesty. When you're transparent, even if the truth isn't what they want to hear, you earn trust, and trust is what leads to referrals, repeat business, and a respected brand. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. As a realtor, your expertise is more than a marketing pitch, it's a promise. Clients rely on you for honest, professional guidance rooted in market reality. When that guidance is replaced with flattery or inflated promises, it may win the listing, but it erodes the very trust you're meant to build. So ask yourself, have I ever set a price just to please the client? even when I knew it might not sell? Am I doing the hard work of educating sellers about real market conditions, even if it's uncomfortable? Would I feel proud explaining my pricing strategy to a panel of my peers? Real professionalism isn't about telling people what they want to hear. It's about equipping them to make the best decisions possible. Thanks for joining us for this short case interpretation review. Stay sharp, stay ethical, and remember, your client's trust is earned through honesty, diligence, and market expertise. For more real-world training and resources, visit www.youtube.com/@NSDC Realtors.